Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Lil Dudes Insect Academy podcast. I am so excited to be here talking bugs with my new friend Solo. So, thank you for coming on the show. Welcome to the show, Solo. Go ahead and introduce yourself for us.
Hi, Bradon. Thanks for having me. Hi, guys. I'm new here at Little Dudes. My
Mm-hmm.
name is Solo, as Bradon mentioned. I'm from the Philippines, and I'm a foreign student here at Michigan State.
Awesome. Yeah, that is so cool. We'll get all into that in a minute, but what have you been working on recently? What are where so you're at Michigan State right now, but what have you been doing recently? And then we'll talk a little bit about your previous experience.
Yeah. So, good question. I'm here at Michigan State University taking my master's degree in entomology. Basically, what I do here right now is I'm a part of a team that tracks pesticide resistance across the world. So I'm part of Dr. David Mota Sanchez lab, wherein he tried to look at pesticide resistance across different insects.
Mm,
But for my part, I'm looking at fall armyworm in particular. It's a lepidopteran pest that is right now moving from the U.S. going to Africa, going to Southeast Asia right now. So we're more interested in figuring out how to manage resistance for this insect pest in mainly in corn, but it feeds on a lot of crops like sorghum, sugarcane, and other crops that yeah, basically a lot of crops.
yeah, it sounds like really important work.
Mm.
So go a little bit more into that. What are all the details about that, and what specifically are you working on with that right now?
Yeah. So before coming here in the US, I'm an extension worker in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a part of the Department of Agriculture. So I'm a part of the government in the Philippines. And what I do mainly is to educate farmers in the Philippines how to do proper pest management. So I was there from 2019 up until last year, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And during my time in my service there, uh, the fall armyworm came in the Philippines. So it was the first record in 2019.
Wow.
And also, it was my first assignment, if you may say, to the government to help farmers know this pest quite well and then try to figure out which management we could use. And during that time, I was reading a lot of papers, and I learned that it came from the U.S.
Mm,
in the 1700s. So, well, after 4 years of my service there, I had an opportunity to apply a master's degree here in the U.S. through the Fulbright program. So I submitted an application for me to study here in Michigan State in particular to learn more about pesticide resistance because since fall armor is the first case in the Philippines, we want to combat resistance that could develop after the continuous use of pesticides in the Philippines. So
mm.
yeah, I've been working on that, trying to test some pesticides that we have against fall armyworm, and we're trying to know better which how to combat this resistance that could happen, specifically in the Philippines.
Yeah, and I mean, so tell us a little bit more about this pest specifically. Like, what are some of the characteristics of these insects, and why are they such an issue here?
Yeah, so fall armyworm is a big insect. Uh, Generally, it's Lepidoptera, so meaning it's either it's a moth basically.
Mm-hmm.
It has four stages. It has an egg, larva, pupa, and adult stage. The main issue that we are handling is more on the larval stage because it is the destructive stage
Mm.
of that insect. And the problem is it has six larval instars, or it has six larval stage.
Right.
So for a couple of weeks, it's in your crop area, and it has like longer stages because it has six.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other issue here is it is very voracious. It is a polyphagous insect, so it consumes rice, corn, sugarcane.
Mm,
Other reports include some vegetables. So, and also the adults of the fall armyworm is a strong flyer. So in one night it could fly about 100 kilometers per night. And then if the wind is really strong, it could
right.
fly at up until 500 kilometers.
Mm,
So the characteristic of this insect, if you look at the larval stage, it has four dots posterior or behind its its abdomen, and then if you look at closer at the head of this insect, it has an inverted Y shape in it in on its forehead.
hmm,
So that's the thing that we always tell farmers to look for because there's a lot of lepidopteran pests out there, you
right.
know.
Yeah, and I could see this being a big issue because I think something that stood out to me when you were talking is that they'll feed on all kinds of things.
Yeah,
And
they
that's
feed a lot of.
not exactly common for lepidopterans. Usually it's, they feed on a specific plant. But this seems
Hmm.
like a big issue because you said they're not picky, like they'll feed on rice and you said sugar cane, I think,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, so that seems like a big issue. And did you say they were native to the U.S., but they're coming to the Philippines, and that's why it's an issue?
Yeah, so they're native in the US and
Mm,
it it's kind of far away from the Philippines.
right,
So what happened was some researchers said that there's like a breach within the barriers because of human activities due to trade.
right.
So there are reports that the fall armor was noticed in airplanes and also in seaports.
Mm,
So since the group is belongs to the Noctuid group, they are generally attracted to light. So there may be an instance wherein the fall armyworm is attracted to a ship that has a light on during the night,
mm-hmm,
and it flew there, and then it joined the shipment going to another place. That's why it migrated to a different place.
right.
So first moving from to Africa in 2016, and then in 2018 and 2019, it went to Southeast Asia.
Mm,
So that's why for me as a foreign student coming from the Philippines, it's very important for me to study here in the US because it's native here.
right.
And I also want to learn a lot of like technologies here in the US that is applicable in my country.
Yeah, and that's so cool that you can study them here and it's applicable back at home. Yeah, so do you plan on heading back there to work on this, back to the Philippines, or are you here for a little longer?
Yeah, so my program here is for 2 years and
Mm-hmm.
I started last August 2023. So
Okay.
I still have two more semesters left. So
Mm-hmm.
after finishing my master's degree, by next year I'll be going back to the Philippines to use the knowledge that I gained here and then to educate more the Philippine government and also the farmers that we have in our country.
That's awesome. Yeah. And in the Philippines, is it a big farming area, or like how much farming really happens there, and how much of the exports are from farming?
Yeah, so the Philippines is also an agricultural country, if I can say that, because aside aside from rice, corn is our second most important crop there.
Mm,
So yeah, we also export a lot of commodities like banana, for example, because
mm-hmm.
we also produce fruits that are being shipped towards different countries, and also some lady fingers if you know them.
I
So
think
we
so.
also
Yeah.
export those. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't think of the Philippines as a agricultural country, but yeah, super interesting stuff. Yeah, so with this pesticide resistance, what are some of the I mean, you haven't been there very long, so I'm not expecting like a solution to all
Mhm.
of this yet, but
Yeah.
what are some of the sort of conclusions that and results that you guys are starting to see? And yeah, so what are some of the things you're finding, and is there anything promising that's coming out?
Mhm. So yeah, you're right. I'm still fresh here.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from an extensionist background and then going here to a hardcore science
Mm-hmm.
program, it's a bit difficult for me to adjust. But uh, for us here, we're basically using the insecticide resistance management. So it's an IRM for short.
Mm-hmm.
It's just saying that you have to change the mode of action of the pesticide that you're going to use.
Mm.
So we're just going through that concept and just trying to look at some cases that we see. Because aside from my project in Fall Army, where this group that a part of, we try to look at all the published cases of pesticide resistance since 1914.
Mm.
So we try to compile that into a database. It's called Arthropod Pesticide Resistance Database.
Wow.
It is owned by Michigan State University. So I'm one of the curator of that website, but
Wow.
we are a lot more people that is working with it. We are being led by Dr. David Mota Sanchez, my PI. So yeah, we're trying to educate people through this compiled database, trying to tell people that hey, pesticide resistance is increasing rapidly, and we need to be alarmed because not too many pesticides are being developed, every
Mm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
While pesticide resistance through the arthropods or through insects are increasing rapidly. So basically, they're outsmarting the pesticides that we're
Right.
developing.
Yeah, and they're making resistance faster than we can make new insecticide.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is really interesting stuff. Yeah, so let's go back to a little bit of your background. You mentioned you're in your
Mhm.
master's right now. So what did you do for your past schooling, and what sort of did that look like all the way through high school and into college as well?
Yeah. So I went to high school in Oriental Mindoro National High School. Uh, I had a STEM background there,
Okay.
science, technology, engineering
Mm-hmm.
background. And then going to college, I pursued a degree in agriculture
Mm.
in the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. So my bachelor required me to take a major degree because agriculture is a broad science, right?
Mm.
So in my university, we were asked to pick a major, and then when I was looking at the website, I saw the word entomology. Like, what is that?
Mm.
I my first thought. And then when I browsed the website, I saw that it was about insects, and I figured, what, this field doesn't belong to agriculture because at that time I figured that agriculture was just production,
Right.
just tilling land, just
Mm-hmm.
fertilizing them,
Mm-hmm.
just harvesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, hey, this is an interesting field. I might go and check it. And then a professor of mine said that not too many people go into entomology because it's a bit tough working with the small creatures.
Right.
But that only made me more curious. And I realized that it might be easier for me to find a job because there's not not many competition in
Yeah.
that field in my country.
Right.
So yeah, I submitted my application in my second year of college to pursue my major in entomology, and I took a specialization in insect taxonomy because it fascinated me that I I would be capable of identifying insects that time.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so my undergraduate thesis was about assassin bugs,
Oh,
the
cool.
family Retuviids.
Very cool.
So that was my undergraduate thesis. I was looking at all the assassin bugs in the Philippines through a collaboration with the National University of Singapore, led by Dr. Wee Sung Wang.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So after that, I joined the government to help farmers to help farmer education
Mm.
with respect to insects. So yeah, after that, fall armyworm came, and then I tried to shift into a toxicological field in entomology.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge field. It's really important. Yeah, so that's really really cool. Amazing bugs in the Philippines as well. So I'm sure that's really
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, that's so awesome. Something that kind of stood out is that you got to write a thesis for your undergrad. In the U.S., not many schools, not many undergraduate programs require you to write a thesis. So,
Mm.
um, that's really awesome that you got to do that and on something you were interested in as acid bugs. Super
Yeah.
fun stuff. Yeah. So, you mentioned that you saw, entomology, as a opportunity, but were you really into bugs at all before that, or like, how did you get interested in entomology, or was it sort of that moment that you realized this was something you wanted to do?
Yeah. Um, Growing up, uh, I haven't engaged much about bugs. I mean, I did when like a mosquito would bite you, right?
Right. Yeah.
But not too deep in a way that I would try to learn about them.
Mm-hmm.
But it was at that moment when I was an undergrad to like learn more about insects and try to decide if I would be pursuing that career.
Mm.
Because yeah, being an undergrad, you have to like kind of decide on which path you would be taking.
Right.
And especially in my country, because it's a developing country, like it would make or break my career that time. So I
Mm.
had to learn and try to study about insects at that time. And yeah, I got interested with it, and it opened a lot of opportunities for me, especially here. I'm here now at Michigan State.
That's awesome. So cool. Yeah. So, what like are there any people in your journey so far that have kind of led you along and sort of been your inspiration, like either in the world of science or otherwise? Like, who's your inspiration with all of this?
Oh, yeah. So uh, I have to say that my inspiration would be all of the entomologists in the Philippines,
Mm.
especially my professors, Dr. Ray Velasco, Dr. Barbara Kawili, Dr. Cheryl Yap. A lot of professors in the Philippines
Mm-hmm.
inspired me to pursue a career here because I remember I received a quote from a well-known entomologist in the Philippines. I think she said that like there's a lot of lawyers, there's a lot of doctors, but there's only a few entomologists in the world.
Right.
So you have to pursue this career because you'll be in demand in the future.
Right.
So when I encountered that quote, like I was fascinated that no one is studying entomology in my country,
Mm.
and then uh, I learned I at that time I knew that I would be I would be taking up a field that is not much people has taken. So it would be a opportunity for me to leave something
Mm.
to my fellow countrymen, you know, like to contribute something from science
Yeah.
in the Philippines and also across the globe.
Yeah. That is so awesome. Yeah, it's so cool because I mean, there aren't even really very many entomologists throughout the world, but I'm sure they're high demand in the Philippines because you said it's a developing country, and yeah, so you're gonna be one of the few, which is really exciting.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's really awesome that you're gonna get to bring something to the table that is really valuable for everyone. So that's really exciting. Yeah, so other than entomology and science, what are some other activities or hobbies that you enjoy in your spare time, either related or not to entomology?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of Dota 2, and I also like joining virtual runs, especially during pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
But that was back in the Philippines. But here at Michigan, when I started my grad school, uh, what I do in my spare time is just to listen to music, try to watch movies in
Mm-hmm.
Netflix and Amazon, and I try to keep up with reading publications because in a different environment right now. I'm pursuing a master's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also required of me to do a lot of readings
Right.
because I need it to enhance my skills in doing research, and then it also helps me understand the things that we're working here.
Mm. That's so cool. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and you talked about how you're doing your master's now, and your end goal is to be back in the Philippines. But are what are some other plans for the future? Are you thinking about maybe a PhD, or do you really know yet? Um, yeah. So other than going back to the Philippines, what are some other goals of yours for the future?
Yep. So, Braden, a lot of I've encountered a lot of farmers in my 4 year serving in the Philippines. They always message me every day. Like
Mm,
they would send me pictures of the insects that they encounter in the field.
yeah.
And I want to finish my degree here so fast that I could go back there and be with them because it's hard for me to be here and not explain the the insect that they're sending to me that well because sometimes the picture might be
Oh
blurry.
yeah.
Sometimes they send to you like a different thing that you want.
Oh
So
yeah.
the interaction would be much different if you're there with them. So
Right.
I'm really planning to be there to continue my work there with the because I'm a part of the regional crop protection center. So it's like a pest clinic in the Philippines
Mm,
that is distributed across the archipelago.
mm.
And then because I'm handling 5 islands in the Philippines
Wow.
just to control pests. So I'm planning to pursue a business maybe in pest management if I wouldn't be back in the government serving farmers, I would pursue a company maybe that
Mm,
handles pest control, but more on agricultural, not the urban pests that you're accustomed and seeing.
mm.
Yeah, hopefully I could finish next year and
Mm-hmm.
be back in my country to pursue a career in pest control and insect education.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. There's so many options for you, I'm sure. Um, yeah. How about any like trips or specific research you want to do? How about that?
Yeah. So for trips, I'll be going to the ESA again this
Mm-hmm.
year. I think it will be in Phoenix, Arizona, in
Yep.
November.
Yep. That's
So
right.
I'll be maybe if I will have my results that time, I'll be presenting it to ESA next year, November. I
Nice.
hope I could see you there
Yeah.
again. And yeah, for future researches, I'm still planning to pursue my interest in assassin bugs because I think there's less than 10 people working on that in Southeast Asia or
Right.
even in the Philippines. So I still want to look at that because it's also a good thing because it's a predator and also a medical entomology of concern.
Right.
So and also I would continue my study in fall armor in the Philippines when I go back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all entomology
Oh yeah.
for the next couple of years.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Yeah. So, lastly, before we wrap this up really quick, where can we go to learn more about you and the work you're doing and sort of keep up with where you're going? If you have social media, maybe a website that you'd like us to know about, anything like that, where can we go to learn more?
Yeah. So you could just Google search me. You can find my LinkedIn in Google. And also we have a lab website that you could see my profile in. And basically those two things. You could look at my LinkedIn and you could look at the laboratory website that we have here at Michigan State.
Sounds good. And I'll leave both of those links down in the description for you guys to check out. The show notes in the description of this episode. Uh, but yeah, thank you so much for being on the show, Solo. This was so fun. Super exciting stuff. I love that you are, coming to the U.S. to learn more, and then going back to the Philippines to share everything that you've been learning. That is so awesome. I love to hear that. So, thank you so much for being on the show. Really important and exciting research that you're doing at Michigan State. So, yeah, thank you so much again for being on the show. It was really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much also for inviting me here.
Of course, it was a great talk and so fun to get to know you.